please connect to that part of yourself. Don't be shy. I can't do it for you. I can hold myself back, but don't you hold back for yourself internally. I guess it's what I'm saying. You've stepped into, if you understand karma and emptiness to some intellectual degree, then you understand that any goodness at all that you are blessed to experience, even a breath, has come from your goodness towards others. Any understanding that you seem to acquire, it's only an echo of you giving other people understanding. And if you look at the world that way, your world, not the world, your world, then it's a miracle that we can sustain this information and put it to some application and consider the human condition in a way that is transmutable, rather than be like dead fish down a river whose inevitable end is guaranteed. That we are like salmon flowing upstream and jumping out of our, what seems to be our nature, but isn't. And you have that power. Being in the room really means you have that power. So I hope that's implicit in every class if you've been listening, and me trying to do funny pictures and silly jokes, which I'll keep doing. It's just a way to stay connected in our everyday way of thinking. Because if I sound too weird, then something might trigger and go, oh, it's not quite in my norm. So with that motivation, let's begin.
Sashi
Puhi Jishin Metotram Rira Lingshi Nyinde Empati Sangye Shindu Mite Buarki Dropun Nanda Shimla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratnamandalakam Niratayami
Sangye
Chiram Soki Choknam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gapsuchi Dahi Jinyang Gipe Sonamki Kroa Benchir Sangye Drupasho
Sangye
Chiram Soki Choknam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gapsuchi Daki Chinyang Gipe Sonamki Droa Benchir Sangye Drupasho
Sangye
Chiram Soki Choknam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gapsuchi Daki Chinyang Gipe Sonamki Droa Benchir Sangye Drupasho. Let's take a few minutes to meditate. Take your seat. Check your posture until you bring your mind to your breath. Try and park your body, releasing any tension till your mind is pressed tightly on the breath. It's just the breath. If your mind wanders anywhere else, it's just a perfect reminder that we return to the breath. With your breath, see if you can transform your surroundings until you feel you're seated in your perfect place, wherever that is, imaginary or real. Get a 3D feel that you're in that place, your perfect place for meditation. Give it detail, scent. See if in front of you you can visualize a closed lotus flower, large. And as you're watching it, it begins to open petal by petal. Get the detail of the petals opening. Get the color of the flower. See if you can get the scent of the flower. It's ever so subtle. See if you're on top of that opened lotus flower, you can create a round cushion that is made of a sliver of the sun, glowing as bright. And above that, another cushion that is made of the sliver of the moon, silver and glowing, cooling. And then begin to see appear on top of those two cushions. Take your time here. This is the only thing we're going to do. Begin to imagine your perfect teacher, imaginary or real. Begin to see them appear as a 3D image. Maybe perhaps you see only their silhouette with a backlight. Or you can see them as translucent, but see their feet crossed. Their meditation posture is firm and steady. Keep moving up until you see details of they're wearing, how the light shimmers on their skin, or if it's translucent, see through them. Take a few breaths as you scan them from top to bottom, adding more and more details that cover all the senses. It's just you and them. Now imagine the limitless human mind. Imagine a perfected mind. And step inside. Imagine being inside your perfect teacher. And get a glimpse of what it would be like to think and feel and see and taste and touch like them. Imagine perfect concentration, complete and total wisdom that sees the ultimate way things appear. And fearless compassion and unconditional love for every creature. Allow that feeling to grow in your heart as if it's theirs. Imagine the totality of their knowledge, the infinity of their love, and the certainty that would come from understanding all things. And then ask them, imagine opening their eyes and seeing you. Seeing everything about you. Nothing to hide. They would only see the goodness. They would only see how many steps you have yet to reach enlightenment. They would see the courses for that enlightenment. And they would see that that's the only way to pacify the yearning that all beings in samsara have, the insatiable want. Imagine they also know that through this meditation, you've just planted a seed to lead you faster through that path, your path. See if you can feel that impregnated in your mind. And gently withdraw the vision and return to the senses in this room. Just aware of your inhalation. Slowly open your eyes when you're ready. You're all very still and quiet. It was very nice. So just as a reminder, we were removing this. We're just about to finish class ACI 3, which is applied meditation. And next week we're going to do proof of future lives, a summary of the logic behind that, which isn't really taught in the Tibetan monasteries, by the way. It's, you have to go digging to find the logical proof for past and future lives in the Tibetan monasteries. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't it be taught?
Because everyone believes it.
Yeah, it's assumed. It's like, what are you, stupid? Anyway.
Next week's Thanksgiving, though. So
Next week is Thanksgiving, so you'll be giving thanks instead of being here. Correct. I meant next class after Thanksgiving. You're welcome to give thanks in other places other than this place. We thank you for your attendance. So in order to do this thing, you guys get to review. We're going to have Anthony in the corner. We're going to have Peter in that corner. We're going to have Jacqueline, were you here last week? Yeah, you get to that corner. And Richard, this corner. Yeah. Please find a corner. You have 10 minutes. It's not a long thing, so because we have a lot of content, and it's just to get our minds back to this list and what it means. See you in 10 minutes. See you at, it's actually 15 minutes. See you at 10 past. If you weren't here last week, join a corner. You'll get caught up. Get me my. I've got my note, some notes.
You want to hear? Yeah.
Everyone's name.
All right. So the first question is, list just the names of the 6 preliminaries that should be performed before a meditation session. Be careful not to confuse
Hola. ¿Cómo estás?
with
Hola.
perfect time. Okay, here, I have to read now. List just the names of the 6 preliminaries that should be performed before a meditation session. Be careful not to confuse them with the 70
You created this guy.
frustration in the court.
That's like evaluations and making offers.
Yeah.
Number two is
Calling.
Yeah.
Well, number 5 is 4 hours. Number 5 is 7.
So just read on.
Right, but the 7 ingredients is the preliminary is the 7 ingredients. And then
Last one.
last one.
I don't think.
He is. So then the last one is
Received.
the third one.
Do you know what's wrong?
That was
So these are all the things that you do.
No, reversing is not in there. Gather business and purify.
No, because I just got the end of that. What was it then?
Purification is,
Which is like you think about the
Yeah.
basically.
I know where you confess something, so we
Yeah,
all this.
yeah, like you
Yeah.
think about something that
The
you
third one
really
is
proud
wrapping
of,
your
your mind and
mind.
how to make it ask you the best.
That's the third and fourth.
Yeah,
And
the
then-
third is I don't know.
And then you.
Then figure it out.
No, the fourth one is not
That's
about
Oh.
my mother's maiden name and all this one is.
Oh, and
Turmeric.
Richard, you were right last week. I had the argan padium incorrect, the water of this. I had it backwards. Yeah.
I never get so 7 or 8 or 6 hours. Okay, what do you do? Come into the room, you prostrate, make offering.
Then you make offerings, prostrate.
And then you sit.
You take refuge, you generate the wish.
For sure.
Question.
And then you call the sisters. And then you do the ceremony.
Generating the future. First you confess, then you ask them for blessings is after. So it's bringing forward.
Yeah, that's right. It's only reflection of quality. Then 5.
Yeah.
Visualize the
That's the fourth. And you know that's now we have joy. And then ask for the blessings. That's why it's confusing.
I know, like, everything we're doing, they're gonna offer.
Confessing and bowing or like.
I usually, or I'll see, and then I know, and then I know the first one, and then she opens
And I think traditionally, do they throw water?
Yeah, this is really important.
It's part of that. It's a thing.
But I usually sit.
You can do number 3 while seated. Yeah.
I remember.
At that time, you'll see.
We talked like 3 times.
I like your handwriting.
We have to write, so you really, okay, I already did this one. That airport and I saw
Voter
separate
registration.
beautiful offerings for
Unless they got with.
and generate
Yeah. I didn't know.
That's part of that.
But
Was it blue?
No, that's.
No, but I'm saying that's how you just remember. It's like,
well, it could be, because your teacher should be your body.
Your teacher's British shepherd.
No,
Okay,
your
then
teacher
that would be a percent of the field. But if your teacher's not teaching anything.
I think that's logistical. Okay.
So
And dedicating the goodness.
So 7 ingredients is the 5th step. So you've cleaned the room, set out offerings. And then first part.
The other one is the B I said.
Gather good and purify. So next round is like 7 ingredients. First one was prostrating in your mind. Second one is offering in your mind.
Give up
To the holy beings.
And also giving it like being like.
You're
getting equilibrium.
So,
you want to like gather all.
right, so you feel that they're reading your mind and you show them the bad things that you've done. Oh, okay, okay, so number 1, prostrating, and number 2, making offerings.
It goes beyond
It's all in your mind, right? Yeah.
And while you're still in the United States.
Number 3. I want to explain what Number 5, ask for teaching.
You saw that? Wasn't that so weird? Yeah. Just a table and then.
Ask holy beings to stay here. And then the last one is dedicating the goodness. So this is interesting because it's not always just. So you could say, I'm going to teach this. Teach this thing. Is this good? And then you can tag on.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's really hard to just say all virtues. No, I know, but I'm saying like,
Decide what you want.
blah, 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 you've done the
It's
whole
like
thing.
personal.
It takes really
Very
much
clear, clear about
You're
that
only meant to
argument.
make one of the things that is like,
You wouldn't want to.
it's hard for me, each step can be so long. And this is just. But it could be your life. So can we just go through them? Yeah. Because. So we sort of get the basics. So now let's get a prelims. All our teachers, we're so moved by them that we have to offer. We're so moved by them that we have to offer. Oh my God, I felt so bad. This is what it was. I feel so bad.
The third one is.
Take that.
together. Usually the opposite.
Yeah.
Usually that's divided.
But I've done all this
Become weird.
stuff.
And then
That's
you're
really
like that.
and then you like make it really important. Like, I say to these rituals, it was so amazing that your rituals for enlightenment and how many people have gotten enlightened through rituals and you like really love that by your very then you ask, please teach me, right? Okay, and then you say, please stay near me, please don't teach me to stay, but don't just like, teach me to go away, because that happens, and like, we've also people like, really into it, and then poof, it's done, and they're back in somewhere. I dedicate all this virtue to choose a goal. So if you're Richard, it would be the highest goal.
What does it say? Dedicated to these all to all.
Yeah.
How do you define it?
But you can also, right, but you can also be, because developing yourself is
I understand.
That's it. So you get something different, where that thing is going down, the money is going to happen. They never want everyone to go to their friends or family. And those things are given people in the past.
So then you would dedicate that to a
It's funny that
specific
way.
goal.
And I'm not supposed to
You can also say, just let me.
Oh, I'm not
Please, everything I just then you actually meditate.
You're really answering right
Nobody.
Steve, how long? You finished? You guys finished? Can you hurry? 2 minutes.
Can you go on the next slide?
No. That?
Yeah. Because it's a 5, not a 6, right? 6. Oh, no, wait. 6 conditions. Wait, no, right? So right conducive state, number 1.
Yeah, so number 1 is conducive state. That's got 5 parts. That's what
Number 2.
name simply.
You know where it is?
Is that there? Do you remember it? That's it. So you guys. It does happen to me when they get upset. I know. Stop being an Last one. Last one. Got it?
then the final one was
And do you know?
No, that's the other side. The other side of the
Not the empty one?
Yes. And can you collect them and give them to Rachel? That all the room is too dry.
It's also that.
I've got that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Way more than time.
We have all this stuff you need at home for the cold.
I took the tablets that you sent. I took 2 of those. I took vitamin C and I had ginger latte.
So we also have oregano oil.
Oh, cool.
Should probably get the wellness formula from cold food.
It makes sense. It makes sense to me that why.
So far, you guys just covered up to the green, yeah, which is what we got to. We got to up to the 8 antidotes to the 5 problems, yeah. I'm going to put a PDF that I prepared for you earlier, like 5 years earlier. When I taught this course, which is ACI 3, I grabbed the thing that comes next, that thing that we're not going to do, the 9 stages of meditation chart. Put the 6 powers, the 9 stages, the 8 states of mind that I taught there, the 5 problems, and the 26 antidotes. Yeah. And then I've put a summary of what we're going to cover, actually a more detail of what we're going to cover tonight, which is the thing that's left in this entire course, in these 5 steps to understanding, to having a good meditation, understanding meditation, is we covered how to prepare, the ideal environment, correct posture, the mental processes. We're about to finish the mental processes with the 9 stages meditation chart that gets us up to shamatha, good, because we then, shine, and then we put that on the highest object we know, which is, and that becomes vipassana, right? So there's 2 big words. We may as well go shazam and bing bing and bong bong, because they are just words, people. Until you have an experience, they are just concepts, which are still your projection as a result of what you've planted. Okay? So yes, I want to get to shine, I want to reach vipassana, I want to have that insight, but until you plant the courses for that, they are just, you may as well say shazam. Yeah? Do you remember shazam? Does anyone remember Shazam? Yeah. The app. It wasn't an app back then. Shazam was this brother and sister who had half rings, and when they came together, this genie. Yes, it was. Oh, the Wonder Twins? No, the Shazam it was a guy that came out of 2 rings. I'm going to show it next week.
It's not Kazan.
No. Someone can look it up.
Kazan? Wasn't Kazan Shaq?
No, it was Shazam.
Was it Shazam?
There was Shazam.
Whatever.
Was it?
Anyway, it's not Vipassana and it's not Shamatha. So I'm going to put that up as a PDF. If you get access to Facebook ACI classes at 3 joules, If you don't get access to Facebook ACI classes at 3 joules, go to Facebook ACI classes at 3 joules and get access to it, because that's where it's going. Okay. Does anybody find that completely impossible, unable to do that? It's a very good summary, if I may say so myself, of what we covered up to here and what we're going to cover today, which is the essence. It's good to learn these things. Why? Why is it good to have this structure in your mind? You tell me, because when I saw it, I thought it was a pain in the butt.
For daily practice.
Habituate daily practice, but why don't you habituate a different list, or why don't you do a different daily practice? Time tested, good, that helps. Yeah. Step by step. It also reminds you of things you might be missing if you're putting together the courses for a result. You can't have an event of mind or reality, which is mind, without a course. And this is a very meticulous map of the courses, of the things you have to pick up if you're in video games, in order to go and fight the big bosses, in order to get and finish the game. Yeah, before they come out with a new game. No, the game is finished. So you need the actual courses. It's not because someone thought, hey, throw this in for no reason at all. Yes, it's tried and tested. But to go through this, I also know what comes after the Sutra and open practices. It is the foundation to do stuff to your mind. So when you get to the next level of practice, you actually have something for those practices to stand on, to sit on. If you don't, they're just going to be weird shit you're doing, and people go, that's cool, man. And then you'll die. But a normal death, like I'm just dead. So the point of these practices is to transform even that experience for real. Yeah, meaning you actually have a experience that informs you, that you understand beyond a limited view of what is this thing I call life, and this thing I call embodiment. And what is it that my mind, and I understand how my mind is producing these things. The only way you're going to get to those things is learning. Number one, I'll do that. Learning, contemplating, and then meditating. Learning, contemplating, meditating. Learning to Samgom in Tibetan. Yeah, it's what you do. You learn the stuff. You have to get the structure. Okay, now I've got the pain in the ass structure, but it's not my structure. I'm an individual and I'm free. Well, screw you. You're not going to get anybody anywhere doing that all on your own. Sorry to say so. Yeah, you'll waste your time if you don't accelerate your learning. You really will, because you'll go down a track. For example, one of the things we learned about the 5 problems, what was problem number 4? Do you remember?
Correcting when you don't need to correct.
What was problem number 5?
Yeah.
You notice the problem and you don't correct.
Correcting when you don't need to correct.
Oh,
Not taking action. Not taking action.
What was problem number 3?
wait, which stage?
No stage. What is problem number
Is it like being
5
easy?
problems to meditation? What's problem number 1?
Oh.
How many antidotes?
4.
What's problem number 2?
Forgetting instructions. Forgetting
Thank you. What's problem number 3? You say it with such confidence. That's why I look at you. I'm like, that's awesome, but it's bad. Yeah. Forgetting the instruction. You don't know what you're supposed to be on. Yeah. You're doing it. Yeah, you're supposed to be meditating on this, but you're like having a blissful moment about your Lama. You're not meditating on what you're supposed to do. You're off the object. I don't care how nice your Lama is. You're trying to train your mind to be on something. If it isn't on that, you forgot the instruction, which means you're not meditating. You're doing some other stuff, and that's going to have a different result than what you're supposed to do. So number 3 is dullness and agitation, right? It's like the problems, and then it's 4 is not taking action based on either dullness or agitation from the previous step, and then number 5 is taking action. And I'll give you an example. Okay, why am I going there? Because I'm talking about doing a structure, and I don't like structure. I didn't like structure. I thought it was a pain in the ass, and it wasted time. So I want to save you some time. I'm an individual. I'm a Westerner. My ego will decide. Yeah, well, let your ego decide within a framework. There's plenty of room in the framework for your ego to decide. Yeah, you're dismantling the ego, the habits that get you into a broken realm over and over and over and over. You don't lose the creativity, don't lose the passion, just lose the idea that you must know absolutely everything already. Because if you did, you wouldn't be here. Really. Yeah. Sorry, I wish I could tell you a different way, but I need to be blunt today. One of the examples here is dullness is a common problem. Who experiences dullness? Who experiences gross dullness? Yeah, good like that in meditation. Yeah. Who experiences subtle dullness? Right. Yeah. And subtle dullness, and we've been around meditation, and now meditation is getting more and more. Subtle dullness can be misinterpreted as blissing out, as just some nice sensation, and you're sort of in the zone, man, and it's cool. If you live in the 70s. How would I say that how do I say that in 2000s?
It's lit.
It's lit, bro. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question,
No.
please?
Okay.
Okay. The question is, I do the steps, but sometimes I do them as my speech mind telling me, okay, offerings, bound. Sometimes I do them just like by seeing them in my mind.
Yeah.
Sometimes I take too long doing one.
Yeah. Who takes too long doing one, everyone? Okay.
So like, I don't really know what is the right and proper, like if it is an experience, sometimes I'm very discursive and I'm like, okay, you did this, and I'm like checking myself, but sometimes I try to do it in a way that is kind of non-discursive. I don't really know what is the proper way.
All three are proper ways because you're experimenting within the structure.
Mm-hmm.
So don't freak out. So, who's been in a stage where you just can't visualize and you just have to say, now I need to see this? Yeah? Okay. So that's okay. It depends on your state of mind. If you can't force your state of mind to like visualize the perfect this, then you jump over to some other sensory experience. So long as you do the steps are the foundation. Yeah. At the end of the day, maybe you've spent, I've sometimes spent like a broken record. Do you remember what records are? A broken record. It's the equivalent of a broken record.
A scratch CD.
No more CDs. We're talking MP3s.
Bad file.
What does a bad file? Buffering on repeat. Thank you. Like buffering on repeat, I'll get stuck on the confession, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll sit there and I'm like, I didn't do it right, and I'll go cycling over and over and over and over and over and over, and that after the meditation, I can analyze where that came from, and then I'll rush through the rest. But guess what? That whole experience gave me some depth to the way I do confession. When I come out of meditation, I go, why did I get stuck there? Is I didn't have the feeling that it would work. I had a feeling that I wasn't good enough at it. I felt that it didn't really impact anything, and I wanted to impact. It's okay. You know the content of your mind. You spend some time there. Set your goal at the beginning of meditation. Go through the steps. You might go, whoop, slow down for 2 or 3 steps, and then whoop, fast. It's okay. Do the steps. The habituation of the entire steps are the key. At some point, you're going to go in and get very detailed about one step, and you must spend months on that. That's okay. That'll serve you later on, because when you get to the confession step 10 years later, if you've done that in detail and you've figured out your mind in relation to clearing obstacles and really understand it because you've gone in depth, just placing your mind on the obstacle brings all that to fruition and helps you resolve it 10 years later. It really does. The more you spend challenging yourself in any one of these steps, believe me, please, it will serve you 10 years later. But not if you just get into the habit of either glossing over or skipping steps, because you'll need them later. And if you don't habituate your mind to them, you'll have to learn again, yeah, and create a whole bunch of new connection. So here is,
But sometimes aren't the
yes.
7 ingredients, like can't the 7 ingredients be like an entire meditation on themselves?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Each one of the 7 ingredients, absolutely, no problem.
Okay.
You've just been given a manual. Read the manual.
Great.
Yeah. Don't miss the headings.
Cool.
Yeah. And then get to know as much detail as you need. Some of you need more details than others. Some of you need to be heady. Some of you need to be feely. Some of you need to be visuals. Some of you need to contemplate more and then have an experience. Some of you need to carry that experience out into the world and look for something similar. Whatever it is, just do this manual steps. Yeah, it will serve you. It really will. That's the only reason we're teaching it. It's not because we have to. It's because it actually builds.
So I sort of have had this question for a while. Can focusing only on the prelims, or sorry, the 7 ingredients, create the causes for you to experience shamatha? Because in my mind, I'm like, that's so different because you're going from thing to thing to thing, and you're not. I understand that it's the object of the 7 ingredients, like this big wide object. But then part of me is like, well, I guess because I don't know where it's going.
Yes, yes. But I used to have the same problem. Like, how can I be on one thing if I'm on multiple things, right? It's the problem of one or many. You have to think of it as one thing. The example I keep giving, which was the first time I viscerally felt I landed a meditation way back when, was I couldn't focus single-pointedly on one thing. My mind kept jumping. And I had the problems of meditation where I just kept being agitated or dull, and I would jump off the object and then come back. With some periods on it, but then periods off. And then I can't remember who the teacher was, but they taught me the death meditation. And they said, why don't you try with something else? Try it with some other emotion, because death was a little bit too weird for me at the time. So I said, okay. So I tried it with anger meditation. And anger, for me, which was a problem at the time, was this beautiful, broad thing my mind could go on. It's the things that got me angry. It's the feelings that I felt when I was angry. It's the afterthoughts of anger that I could stab people in the eye. It's like, anger was this beautiful, big thing. And so I spent some time on anger, and I felt sort of free to let my mind roam in that field. It's like that enclosure. It's all anger. It's all the object. My mind was on the object. I landed that meditation over and over and over and over. But my mind moved from yelling at my mom to feeling like shit, like being frustrated and keeping my mouth shut. My mind was on those things, but I was on anger. And gradually, very slowly, I began to get the anger down to a single moment of anger until I could get my mind on that moment alone. And then that moment alone was the object of my meditation. But it was exactly the same meditation. It's just that my mind had one instance versus 25 different instances. All of those will develop shamatha.
The reason why I'm bringing it up is because before I ever learned this stuff, I was just focusing on my breath. And I made very little progress in 1 year because I just was so agitated, I wasn't keeping my ethics, blah, blah. But it seems that these 7 ingredients create really good virtue and really good karma for your meditation practice to like explode.
Correct.
So I guess what I'm saying, or what I'm trying to assert, is that the potential that this would be a good meditation to just sustain you for like a really long time, and then that can bring you to the point where you're meditating on your breath and like you don't even need to like keep coming back to your breath. It's just you sit down and it's been 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly, correct. Yeah, because this is just one part of the practice. You'll learn today. We'll get through it today. Yeah, but these are good questions. It tells me that you're practicing what you're trying to practice, and it's just getting to know the nature of your mind. And the incredible thing about these things is, unlike most of the rest of our life, the things we're talking about are invisible things to an outside person, and they are difficult to measure. How much concentration did you have today? 6. Like a lot. not so much. Okay, but what does that mean for you versus you? So here is how we are blind. Here is how, not only that, how much you can't even measure it for yourself. Let us talk about it. We're talking completely different things most of the time. And hence the topic of tonight, which will be, what is the one and only thing that can really get to that invisible, hard to measure thing? What is a way to get close to it? What is the way to begin to address it so it serves you, so you can know it? What's the only way to get to know something really well? How can you get to know something that is almost unknowable? And we'll answer that in a second. But first, here's the 9 stages of meditation leading to shamatha. I'll give you this as a chart, okay? I'm not going to, is it all up there or going one after the other? The first one is just placing your mind on the object. So I'm not going to go through it, okay? There's plenty of information. G's class just finished doing this. So you've got welcome to go to our YouTube and look at it. So take a snapshot. You're not required to know it for the quiz, but you should know it. This chart, the chart that this relates to, do you all take your pictures?
No.
Take your pictures, because I'm moving on.
Okay.
The chart that this relates to was created by, does anybody know who created the meditation chart?
Master Kamashila.
No, it's the commentaries on that. Who created the chart?
Oh.
Who drew the chart and the instructions on it? Do you know?
Master Kamashila's artist.
No, it was early, much later than that.
Shantideva?
No. Quiero de vuelta la que tú
8 more masters.
8 more masters. Sorry, here we go.
Jason Kappa?
No,
No.
closer.
Someone like we don't know.
Vasubandhu?
No. I like that you know these names. I didn't know these names when I was doing ACI. I'm like, I learned them later. It didn't help me. Take,
Hector Marcel.
no. But closer to Hector Marcel than Jason Kappa.
It was someone who brought.
Do it 1, 2, 3. Do it now.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. No, it's your great grandfather. Who's your grandfather? So who's your father in this class?
Who?
Who's your grandfather? Who's your great grandfather? Who's your great great grandfather? Who is Babrinka Rinpoche's principal student. He did this chart. No, Srijang Rinpoche.
Really?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
chart that everybody
That
says?
everybody says. Yeah. I know.
He was like, just draw an elephant here.
So like, what year?
And the commentary, this is in the 1940s, and yeah, all the way to, he was 13 in the 90s when he reincarnated, so he would have been, I actually don't know when he passed, I don't know his name. Anyway, so the 9 stages are there. In essence, what this chart tells you is a map for your meditation practice leading to shamatha, vipassana, shazam, okay? It's leading to a state of mind that lets you be so focused, so holding an object so vividly, so clearly, and then that object being the highest object that you can land on, the ultimate nature of all things. Yeah, so if this is a map to get there, each bend is a problem. The elephant is your mind. The darkness is, you are running behind your mind like crazy, and it's going ahead of you, and then you've got agitation and you've got dullness, and you've got these instruments to come and bring the joy, and it's full of ideas, metaphors, etc. It also, did the flames come up already or not? Yeah, the flames are your efforts getting lower and lower. You no longer you start killing off gross agitation and gross dullness, and you get subtle, and subtle agitation is gone, and then subtle dullness, and your effort to try and push through things becomes less and less until you can just sit there like you were describing, and then boom, your whole state is in that thing. So this walks you through that thing. Let's now go to the 5th part of our study of meditation, which is
The object.
good. What should we meditate on? Yeah, like why should we be meditating on something? versus why should we be meditating on nothing? Who ever heard that you should just try and clear your mind? No, really, we've heard it, right? Like I heard it too.
Yeah.
And you could interpret it in a way that would work with what we're teaching here. And yes, you should clear your mind. Clear your mind from what? Kaka, distraction, mental affliction. You should clear your mind. But can the mind be on absolutely nothing?
No.
Not before it's trained.
No, but even if it's trained, this was a huge debate in the 700s, in the mid 700s. Master Shua, a Chinese master, Shua, something I can't remember his name, and Master Kamalashila had a debate in China in the 700s, public debate, which is where they figured out, is meditation trying to get your mind on nothing, or should there be something in your mind? And the word Yu Chen is holder of an object, which is a description for your mind. A state of mind holds an object. Even a mind that's trying to not meditate on anything, it's trying not to have an object. Its object is trying not to have an object. You see, even and there are meditations called almost nothing meditations, where your mind is moving ever so slowly that it would be called nothing meditation. Yeah, but there is something on it. You can't have object, subject. You can't have subject without an object. The consciousness that arises, the state of mind, is in relation to something. So the basis of this meditation training, and there are others out there, but none that the Tibetans have certified after this debate, is that there is something to put your mind on. That you must have an object of meditation. Master Kamalashila even said, well, even if it was possible for your mind not to have an object, what would be the point of it if cause and effect was true? What would be the result of being on nothing? Yeah, what's the point? What's the benefit? Well, you may as well grab a huge rock and smash yourself in the head until you are knocked out, not asleep, knocked out, completely unconscious, and then that's your meditation. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm.
But emptiness is a lack of something.
Yeah,
so,
but the way you get there.
But you're saying the way you get there,
you're
saying the end result is nothing?
No, emptiness is the lack of something that you thought was there. And that is what your mind rests upon.
But it's a lack of something.
A lack of something.
Which is no thing.
Yeah.
So you thought
but it's not nothing.
It is.
It's a lack of something that you thought was there. There being no pink elephant in this room, the lack of pink elephant in this room doesn't mean there is nothing.
It does though, doesn't it?
No.
There's still a comparison of it's the negation of something, and that something means it can't be nothing.
Nothing is something. Worth thinking about. Yeah, but I'm going to cover content. Cool.
Yeah.
Good question. It's not nothing, but that's probably why you have debate. I mean, the Chinese system is older than the Tibetan system. The Buddhists went into China and then through Japan before they got to Tibet. So it was revered from Master that came over. And it was a real debate because there were the Indian masters that came up and the masters from the East. And the Tibetans were going, well, this is sort of new to us. What should we do? And let's have it out publicly.
Was it like Shrishan Banan?
No, it's not. Sichuan Banan is the place I go to.
Oh, okay.
It's the summer camp for the children's thing. Do I have his name? I might have his name. Let me look. It's not that. Huashan. I do have it. Yeah, Master Huashan.
How do you spell it?
I don't know how to spell it. Huashan. If you read, I think it's Jeffrey. No, what's his name? Used to translate for His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Hopkins.
Yeah, Hopkins.
Is that him?
Yeah. Is it Jeffrey Hopkins?
And I think that's
He wrote a book called Emptiness Meditation. I think that's from his text, Huashan. Yeah.
Is this too long still?
No, Tusongom is just, it was just me throwing out there, you better learn stuff like lists. You better contemplate them. Do they make sense? Break them open, think about them. It's your mind, you have to do it, and then meditate on them. Yeah. The objects will be the stuff we meditate on. We're good so far? We haven't
What's the
started.
ambition to think of nothing, to just rid yourself of afflicting emotions?
I don't know enough about that system. Yeah, it was a misinterpretation of emptiness. We sort of have that in the West now, thinking that emptiness is nothingness. Yeah. And that's a complete misinterpretation of what emptiness means. Emptiness is the lack of something that was there but wasn't there really. Yeah. Emptiness is the lack of some self-existent thing, something that would exist separate from your projections, separate from it being caused. The kind of life that you lead, that you think, oh, she hurt me, he was nice to me. That kind of life could never happen. It only happens because it's in relation to you. So that kind of life, the one we're relating to all the time, pushing people, bad people away and getting all our friends, all those bad people out there and all those nice people out there, that doesn't exist. The only way good people exist is some internal projection that you have an experience of good people in your world. That exists. Yeah, emptiness is the lack of the other one that doesn't exist.
Just whether the Jeffrey Hawkins book, I read it a long time ago, didn't understand it.
It was very hard, but it was about this thick.
Yeah. Is it considered the correct view from our?
Oh, it's a Prasangika view. Yeah, he just uses him to debate. Yeah.
He has understood it according to what Geshe thinks.
Yeah, and Tsongkhapa. Yeah.
One question has been asked: would he still think that was a correct interpretation today? And people say no, he's not so convinced it was so.
Would he be a good teacher to listen to, Jeffrey Hawkins?
It's a good grounding. I would get a good grounding from Jeffrey Hawkins. Yeah, especially around emptiness. Him and Bob Thurman were buddies way back when, right? Can I get to content now? We haven't started class, people. 45 minutes.
Get on with it.
Get on with it. So we got that, right? So based on that, in this system, we have 3 ways to meditate, 3 types of meditation. I want to talk about that first. So do you understand we should put our mind on something? Yeah? And if you're going to put your mind on something, how many somethings do you have to put your mind on? Infinite, right? And out of those infinite somethings, some of them will give you a really shitty result. Some of them give you a really neutral result. Some of them have a brilliant result. Fair enough? Which ones do you want to meditate on before you die? Shitty ones, please. Yeah? No, you want to find the objects that will result in the fastest, most blissful, most get out of samsara state of mind. Is that fair to assume? Yeah? So hence, with logic, with reasoning, with you understanding cause and effect, which is coming up too, yeah, in the summary of it in next, after Thanksgiving, 2 classes after Thanksgiving, you get to realize that whatever you put into your mind actually produces your state of mind and eventually your reality. Through analysis, you got to learn that here at the Asian Classical Institute over and over and over and over again. That is the Prasangika view. The Prasangika view is that there ain't a reality separate from the one that you've planted in your mind through actions of body, speech, and mind. And that motivation has been in there long enough to now produce this thing we call the room. We call the self. We call the planet. We call my emotions. We call living. We call dying. Changes of mind, flipping moment to moment in a seemingly fluid experience that at one point, fluidity, flips, and then we think that's flowing. But our lives are forever doing that, and that does not come from nothing. Ultimately, that comes from you, your mind. And that's why going in and checking your mind out will inform you, will get you the realizations, oh, the way things really are, rather than the way I'm guessing things are. If I keep doing here, being busy working over here, things are going to be okay until they don't. And then you're going to change your strategy and I'm going to do this until it doesn't work. We're guessing. With clear logic and single-pointed concentration, you can get at the source of what is this, and then you've got to work it. Learning the map isn't getting you through the terrain. You have to find where the map matches your terrain. This will give you a map. And tonight, if we get to it, I'll give you the ultimate object of meditation, which you'll hate.
Is it my anger?
It's your anger. Yeah, no, you'll love it. We'll give you the ultimate object, which can take you a very long time to get through, but it is also the foundation for all future practice.
That's using pen.
It's just, yeah, that's it, correct. So the 3 types of meditation, full answer is Jok, Gom. What's Gom mean? Shark Gom and Che Gom.
Habituate.
Gom means habituate, but it's another word for meditation. Yeah, good. So fixation or placing your mind on an object, single-pointed meditation. Keep bringing your mind back to what you choose. That's one exercise for the mind, one type of meditation. We got that? Single-pointed concentration, meditation. Yeah, bringing your mind, fixation, fix it on something. You decide. Who thinks they've been able to influence their mind to think of what you want and not what the mind wants? Who thinks they've actually had some influence over that, even if it's 3 minutes worth? Yeah, we do. We have that capacity. In meditation, you're building that muscle, so you decide where it goes to, not mind just randomly going. Aah. Yeah. Next one is review meditation. Review.
Why does it say 3 types of meditation? Oh, sorry. I'm not.
Were you thinking objects?
No. I thought he was going. He was like next one, and I thought he put number 4 up there.
Oh no, did I put 3? No.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of a single-pointed meditation, of a fixation meditation, which you must develop this skill. Okay, it is you getting your mind on an object of choice. Now we said we got infinite number of objects, right? The karma course teaches us what? How to make a fast karma right, and how do you make imprints in your mind come to fruition faster than other ones?
Plants with a powerful
Higher object, a powerful object, something. What's a powerful object mean?
Yamada.
Yamada. Yeah, but why Yamada?
Because it has intensity.
Yeah, you have intensity towards that object. Yeah. So here comes you having clues about how to manage your mind. Build intensity around stuff that's all around you so you can use it to meditate on. Like, for example, your teacher.
But you don't even have to build it.
Initially, you choose it.
Right.
But then, this is what's going to happen, okay? You pick a teacher. You pick your mother or something. And then samsara is going to get you. Initially, you're like, I revere my mom, or I revere this teacher. You're going to, one object for fixation traditionally would be imagine the Buddha, imagine an enlightened being, right? The thing we did today. Create the basis for it, and here he is. And you begin to get as much detail, single-pointedly, on just that object. See the fingernails, see the shining of the eye, see if you can feel the air coming in and out of his breath or her nose, or his nose. Yeah, try. That's one way to exercise your mind to fixate on an object. Why that object? Because subconsciously you're thinking, shit, that's the Buddha. You want to get to a point where you really believe you're sitting in front of a genuine, real Buddha. Even if it's for a fraction of a second, imagine that imprint in your mind. Imagine the result of that kind of imprint. Because your mind is going to have a seed that says, I just sat in front of a genuine being. I'm calling it Buddha. You call it whatever the hell you need to call it. But I'm calling it Buddha, woke up one, yeah, an enlightened being. I just sat next to a being, possible, that understands completely everything, has complete and utter love. There's no higher evolution of mind than that. And it feels this way, and it tastes that way, and they're outside the realm of cycles of suffering. They can see me in a way I can't even see myself, right? Imagine those seeds in your mind. They're in your mind. There ain't no Buddha there, people. They're in your mind. You're creating this experience. You are putting impressions. Yeah. So an example of fixation meditation is fixate on a silhouette at first until you get more and more detail. And what more and more detail means, not just visually, it means multi-sensory. Is that cool? And you build that up and you build that up and you build that up until you can sit there. It's so habitual that you can sit there and go, oh, there they are. You have the space, you have the cushion, you have everything. And every time you create a new detail and a new detail until you're just hanging out with that thing. And then you'll begin to channel that thing. If you want to get really awesome about it, imagine the seed in your mind, because seeds grow, right? Imagine an imprint in your mind, an impression on a part of your mind that believes, that really understands logically, and then believes that there is a way out of the cycles of suffering. A Buddha, if you're imagining that, is outside suffering. They are in an ultimate state of being, yeah? And you've just had a communion with them. You've just pictured them. You've just been with them. Imagine the imprint in your mind that there is a consciousness witnessing your mind, and that consciousness has perfection, infinity, outside samsara, complete enlightenment. That is in your mind. You just placed it there. The more intense you make it. Yeah? So fixation meditation. A good object is not a candle. It's definitely not the breath. It'll get you there because it grounds you. Yeah, if you tend to be, but so that's why techniques. A review meditation might be where you need to go through the steps, the 6 preliminaries, the 7 ingredients, the 3 stages of a death meditation, the 9 stages of a death meditation. You go and gradually habituate your mind. You're building that muscle now that creates, if you like, neuron pathways between concepts. So it's like a net over an entire reality. And so when you think of this, dominoes to this. When you think of that, dominoes to that. And so you are reviewing a process, a systemic way that leads you, if this, then that, if that, then this, if that, then that. The 7-part cause and effect for developing. Good. Yeah, so these would be review meditations. Yeah, you go through and review those steps. What is it doing? It's like, oh, this is connected to that. You're getting an imprint on causality. Is that cool? And then lastly, it is analytical meditation. And this I loved. I'm not sure if I do it that well anymore. I loved when I first learned this. It's where you have a fight with your own, you get to be bipolar for real and enjoy it. Yeah, you have 2 states that you say, I'm taking this position and I'm taking this position. You grab your doubt, you pick one, a nice healthy one, you prepare for it, you say, oh, the list says this equals that equals that. I'm gonna rip it to shreds, and I'm gonna rip the shreds out of the shredder. And you sit there with logic and reasoning. With what you've learned, you go at it. Is karma true? Do past lives exist? Could my mind evolve beyond this state? Do I have to always be Saki? Should I not think of sex in the middle of this practice? You debate with yourself. Now, all of those are good fodder for your mind being able to use logic quickly. Yeah? And you will, at some point, come to some realization about those questions. For me, if I look at my last, I don't know, for sure the last 6 years, I'm mostly practicing this system. My life is this thing. So I have Buddhist problems now. You know, which Buddhist thing should I focus on? Which one is working, which one isn't? Most of them for me are Buddhist problems, but you could use this for any problem. The ones that are most powerful for you, which are your obstacles, which are your doubts, you break them. And then what happens once you get to an aha moment? What should you do then?
You should sit in fixation.
Yeah, good. Thank you. So, did you cheat? Did you look that up?
No, it's because Coco trained us on this book.
Excellent.
And it takes you, you go from review into analytical, and then you're supposed to keep analyzing until you get to a point and then hold it.
And hold it. Yeah, excellent.
It's on all the steps in the path.
Perfect. which is where we're going to right now. One of the questions you might be asked is, what's Lam Rim mean? And I'm calling it the most important meditation object. What is a Lam Rim?
That's on the past memory.
Did I have that up there?
No.
No.
I did my 30-day meditation challenge post on this today. I meditated on this today.
Like,
cause and effect are infallible, and your mind is under its influence too. It comes from your mind. Well, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean it doesn't. It isn't. Okay, just because it's like, wow. It comes from your mind. It's the way things function. The law of cause and effect functions for consciousness as much as it does for everything else. In this universe, you're projecting. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. So there are specific steps to get from A to Z. There is a map for you to get from here to there, and you can go and tick off in your spiritual progression, in your evolution, you can tick off the steps that you've taken and the steps you have not taken. But you can't have, let's say the ingredients for a cake are flour, eggs, or vegan equivalent, sugar, yeah, etc. And then you have to do a process to it, right? You got to put them together, and you have to put them in an oven and do stuff. Yeah, or if you live in Australia, you put it on top of a car in the middle of the desert, and you're fine. So can I grab, how much flour would I need for a nice size cake? Is 4 cups this big cups or these little cups? And already I have to be informed about really what I need to do with flour. Can I just put the flour in the oven? No. It wouldn't work, right? Can I just, and then crack the eggs on top? It wouldn't work. Things require a sequence for them to work. And you think reaching enlightenment doesn't? You know, like getting to an ultimate state outside this constant tripping, it requires specific steps. Now, which ones for you specifically versus me? This is where the other most important part of object of meditation comes from, which is actually the first Lam Rim, the first step of a Lam Rim. A Lam Rim meditation covers all bases from here to there. When to put the cake in the oven, when not to put the thing in the oven, the mixture in the oven. If you want cake, maybe you can bake it first. Maybe you can scramble it. Maybe you can pour it and call it cake, and it ain't going to be cake. If you want a different metaphor, when you put together an IKEA piece of furniture, who's seen those people that create creative IKEA solutions? Yeah, where it might look like a functioning table, but as soon as you place something on it, it ain't functioning because you forgot that screw number 25, which is always difficult to find out when, at what sequence to do it.
Oh, I thought you were talking about IKEA hats.
IKEA?
That's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah.
Hats?
Hats.
Oh.
People create like crazy
Oh, I see.
stuff out of.
Oh, I see. No, I was imagining people that think like I really had my friend in mind, Evan, who would get frustrated with instructions, put them aside, think he could figure it out, yell to the top of his lungs 4 hours later, and then have to go to instruction. Yeah. So I want to, in the next half an hour, what am I going to do? I want to talk about the 2 different ways that we learn, okay? So a Lam Rim is the steps on the path to enlightenment, and somebody that studies Lam Rim might be a Lam Rimpa, yeah, Lam Rimpa. And that's typically what the Dalai Lama would teach when he comes to an open teaching, where visiting teachers would teach, that grab you and say, here are some steps to get to enlightenment. Hey, let's do bodhicitta at the moment. There's a Lam Rim. Oh, let's talk about a teacher. First step of the Lam Rim. Yeah, let's find a teacher. Step of the Lam Rim. So they'll be teaching that, and then those people are called Lam Rimpas. This comes from Prajnaparamita Sutra, taught by the Buddha way back when, developed into collecting all the important pieces and put together in a summarized sequence. Zen Nimpa is someone who is in a monastic system. It's someone that is you're sort of in between the two. Someone that studies 25 years in depth the 5 great books of Buddhism. Yeah, the 5 great books that summarize the entire Buddhist teaching. And they do it in all traditions, but they study these 5 great books. And so a monastic, a person that receives a Geshe degree, of which you are a close enough version, you're getting the essence of a Geshe degree. You are way more detailed than a Lam Rinpa. Does that make sense? And those 5 texts are the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, Middle Way, Vinaya. I suggest you take a picture of this because I hadn't seen Geshe teach where the components of this came from in relation to the schools. And I thought that was interesting. And mine only sits in the Majjhimika presentation, for those of you who care. So imagine that someone gave you the map, 26 steps or 15 steps or 3 steps or however many steps to enlightenment. It would be worth studying them, meditating on them, getting some detailed understanding of each of the sequences that you need to go through. Does that make sense? Yeah, it would be good to do that. And then that isn't enough. It really isn't. Step 1 is 2 Samgong. 2 is study, learn it. Sam means contemplate it, look at it, figure it out. And Gom is meditate on it, dive in it. Once you've done that, then you have to actually find the correlation between that map and your terrain. The terrain is you. It's your world. And that is infinitely difficult because we just talked about how invisible these things are. And so then you've figured out where you are in relation to this map. Then you actually have to make your first step and walk the bloody thing. It ain't just because you identified it doesn't mean you got it. Oh, I'm there on the map. So it's like the huge dot, the blue dot on Google Maps, you know, the one that tells you where you're at. Sometimes I look out the window of the car and imagine it's floating up there. It's that big blue thing over there. I don't really do that.
I have a question. Yeah. Are you saying that those are the 5 great books, or those are like general categories where the 5 great books fit into?
They call them the 5 great books, but they're a collection of texts.
Okay.
Because Majjhimika, I've never heard of it as like a text.
Yeah, it's a collection. They call them the 5 great books or the 5 great presentations.
And where did you say mind only fell into?
Into the Majjhimika, when we debate where things come from. Which is a Prasangika presentation of emptiness. Yeah, and then we use mind only to debate it. So Lamrim, if we were to meditate on the steps to enlightenment, you'd have 4 general steps. Is that up there or not really?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not there.
Is 5 great steps. And I want to share with you, which I'll update by putting this up on the board, this one text, which is a Lamrim text called The Source of All My Good, which is in this book over here, which is sold over there.
That's not.
Have a look.
Isn't that the preparation for contract?
It is. Yeah, but what's the text inside it?
The Source of All My Good.
Yeah, Source of All My Good. So The Source of All My Good is a Lamrim. We've already learned one Lamrim, which was?
Lamrim Shenpa.
No.
The short one from Justin Kappa.
Which was? Lamso, Namsum, right? The 3 principal teachings, yeah, of Buddhism.
Where does setting your motivation and that sort of thing come in for long run? Because I thought that was the first step.
We haven't gotten to the first step yet.
Oh.
Yeah, you could divide it into these 4 steps, I would say. Yeah, and we're going to go through it right now. Yeah, it comes yeah, it's coming. Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about is the first step we would meditate on would be what's the first Lamrim? After you've set your motivation. What would be?
Your teacher.
You'd find a teacher. Why? Why would that be like the very first thing if you're about to go on this incredible journey to enlightenment? Why would finding a teacher be a thing?
It's your guide and goal. It's your guide and goal.
Yeah, guide and goal. I like that. That's nice. Without them, you couldn't possibly.
Right.
I think of the Olympic athletes, you know, the people that do the jumping and somersault, and they're young kids and they do amazing, and then they come back and there's this bond that happens when they're sitting there waiting for the scores, right? Between teacher and student. They know their shit. Like, I saw you move your wrist this way. Nobody else would notice the wrist move but that teacher. Yeah, so the teacher is the first step. And I want to cover, the first thing I want to cover, I want to cover a bunch of slides. I want you to take pictures of them. I'll give you a quick summary, and then I actually want to read the text so you can see where those things connect. Because then after this week, this is done. The summary is, after we figured out how to meditate and all the ways to meditate, what's the most important thing to meditate on? This sequence of events, the Lam Rim, of which the first step is the teacher. Because without them, there's no way we could even conceive of these things of ourselves, without them for ourselves, let alone know what to do with these things that are invisible. You need somebody for you. A teacher doesn't mean Hector sitting here because I'm sharing ACI. That's not a teacher. A teacher is not Geshe Michael because Hector said Geshe Michael is important to you. A teacher for you is not a person in robes, or it might be. I mean, I'm not saying it isn't. It is a person that can get you enlightened. It's a person that you have a connection with. And then I'll go through the steps that we go through, right? You develop a kind of faith and admiration. Like you said about your mom, you begin with, there's something special about them. You're awestruck. You're like, there's something, out of all the beings I have ever met, you develop this kind of faith, like something is there, and they know some stuff that I need to know, moving my wrist in this hard to find invisible path that points to invisible, hard to measure things inside of me. I need someone that is the closest I can find to help me there. Yeah? And it's not someone you have to follow just because I said so. It's somebody at this stage that you might take something like 12 years to check out.
What if your Lama's doesn't know, isn't the Buddhist path?
If you know the Prasangika and the path, your Lama might not be a Prasangikist.
What if you have many teachers?
Or like
You do have many teachers, but there's this one person that gets you started. You eventually will have everybody as a teacher, but there is one person that gets you started. There is that inspirational connection to the teacher, the one that holds your hand through and through.
It's that label that I got that's called the Root Guru.
Root Guru, correct. Yeah. Root Lama. Yeah. So
that's your basic.
You investigate who they are. You look for do they know what they're talking about? Is it someone I want to become like? Is the state of mind they hold the thing I want to end up with? Because you'll end up with it. Yeah. Is the worldview they hold the worldview I want to hold? Is that how I want to die? With that state of mind, it's your choice. You have to use your analysis, but I'm suggesting you review the path and then begin to investigate who matches that for you. Because where does a teacher ultimately come from?
You.
If you've understood that already, yeah, then you're seeing that I just had a connection and you just taught me something. You're my vehicle for that karma. I'm going to treat you with the highest, utmost respect and reverence because I want more of that coming back my way. It didn't come from you. It never did. But to be sure of that, you have to have reviewed that logic, you have to test that logic, you have to meditate on that logic, and then you have to be sitting on that logic and living through life in that logic. Because after that, what would come after having faith? That, oh, this is a being I want to check out, and now I've decided, I've checked them out long enough, I'm in there, I'm going to take them as my teacher. What would come then?
Devotion.
Devotion. You'll get to devotion, and before you serve them, you have to develop how you think about them. Yeah, and to me, this is the most important thing. This is the most slippery thing of the immeasurable, invisible things that are are practices. You have to develop, after you've developed faith and you've chosen, you're going to break up with them. They're going to fight. They're going to do something because this is samsara. Who's had a partner in the past and loved them? And then who had another one after that? And then who had another one after that? We have the habit of samsara over shiny objects. Your Lama ain't going to be different. It comes from you. Your habit for samsara is not in them. This is hard to hear and this is harder to do. At some point, your Lama is going to piss you off. They're going to do something stupid. They're going to seem too normal.
So basically it takes 12 or 13 years for you to purify enough to actually make that connection with the Lama. It's not like seeking like to find out the truth about them. It's like you need to wait around and be that motivated and not dedicated.
Nice. And then after you've made that decision, it'll be roses until it's not.
It is roses with the thorns.
Yeah, and then the thorns. Thank you. And then the thorns. So you need, how do you get more Lama? How do you get more wise teacher?
The analogy that I've had, and it fits my experience, it's an intimate relationship. And all intimate relationships, you've got all the emotions, everything.
Of course.
And you have to learn how to deal with that.
But where did that come from?
You're longing for love.
My guess is you got to be a good teacher yourself.
Absolutely. You have to, but when your mind sits on that object, the Lama, the teacher, if you bring them to mind, what's going to come into your mind?
All of your reflections.
All of the stuff that you put in your mind in association to them through your actions that are similar to them. It's just karma.
I think it goes deeper than that. Everything gets transferred to them like a magnifying lens. So if anything you feel about anything,
absolutely,
to them, and then gets purified through that you succeed.
If you succeed at not making it samsara, which is my point here. My point is, once you've decided, once you're like, oh, I'm hooked, I'm in, I'm going to practice this thing. This is step one in the Lamrim people. This is a meditation. How do you do this in meditation? How do you do this in meditation? You have to do the fixation, the analysis. You have to do the review meditation. You have to say, where do they come from? Do they come from me? Do they come from that? You have to do this contemplation and meditation in relation to this first object on the path to enlightenment, which is a guide, a spiritual guide. Your teacher, your Lama, your guru, whatever the hell you call it, I don't care. And it ain't somebody with a robe, okay? You might have to start with a visualization of an ideal person, an ideal being. Or you might have to start with a real person if you're lucky enough to have had that sensation.
Do you think it's a slippery slope to try to figure out what the cause was for a certain result? Because we have so many seeds, and it seems like you can project trying to figure out what the cause is.
No, I think it's important through logic for us to be sure that it's somewhere in this range. I think it's...
With this, like I just got a new job, and I'm going to try to figure out what the causes were.
But you can look at cause and you can look at cause. And so you can say generally you got that result because you did something similar to others, towards others in the past.
But not necessarily what those things were.
They have those flavors, you know, and those karmas, like you have the main karma, and then you have all the conditions, which are also karmas, yeah, that were an associate. To say, oh, that came from this one, that would be near impossible for me.
It's kind of like magical thinking. I think
Yeah.
you can get into that
Yeah, I think you can just do general, yeah. So then you develop, after you've developed enough, oh, this is going to be the teacher. I'm going to hang out with them. They know the stuff. It's real stuff I'm talking about. It's not like, oh, they look cool. No, it's like, I'm going to become like them. I'm going to have their kind of knowledge. I'm going to have their kindness. I'm going to have their anger. I'm going to have this stuff I see there. Yeah, I'm going to have their way of dealing with the world. I'm going to figure out how to step in or out of life that way. Once you've done that, then you want to habituate the way you think about them. And what I'm warning you is one of the things that's going to come up is, like the girlfriend or the boyfriend, at some point they're going to look normal to you. And if you don't remember that that also comes from you, you've just created more samsara, just with a very powerful object. Sorry. Yeah, thinking they're stupid, thinking they're worthless. And their job is to know you, so like you said, so intimately, like the gymnasts, right? So intimately that they should be pissing you off at just the right time if they want to help you burn off that bad habit.
But they want you to do one other thing too. Do it in such a timing that you stay with them.
Correct. Yeah, correct. But where did they do that from? Anyway, so then once you think about them over and over in a specific way, you then must act towards them in a specific way. This being is my ticket to freedom. This being knows exactly what I need. It's like going deeper and deeper in commitment. Initially, and I'm just going to be blunt because I lived the life we're living together here. I lived it in the 90s with a holy object. Yeah. And initially, I would come to the 3 jewels and sit and go, oh, free tea, free meditation. The teacher didn't pay for their food. The teacher, they didn't eat, in my mind. The place paid by itself. The teachings, they just got produced out of magic. Yeah, there weren't printers or anything. Yeah, all the people running around it, they were just like smelly people trying to be too friendly or whatever. I was just enjoying the place. Yeah. Oh, in awe of this creature over here. Oh, look how cool, I'm studying Buddhism. Everyone. Seriously. And then, but if you had the connection, if you understand where they come from, which is you are now burning up karma credits like no tomorrow. Like you have a huge overdraft. Yeah. And it's like, you're just swiping karma. Because here is wisdom, understanding. I'm feeling cool. This is how I'm studying Buddhism. Yeah. So level 1 of action is just showing up. That's an action. That's good. Level 2 action towards them, if we want to level them up, would be something like start making them tea. Start serving. Oh, I can do that. Bring a flower. Here's the flower. Yeah. Nice. Good action. Planting courses to serve until you are comfortable enough to take on a project, take on a part of their goal, because they are getting to enlightenment. Not because they are getting to enlightenment and you're going with them. It's not like I now have to do their work. No, it's like I can't wait to do their work. Eventually, you do that until their work is your work. Your work is their work. There isn't a differentiation. We're going to enlightenment. Well, I have to do this. What do you have to do to get to enlightenment? Help other people get to enlightenment. Oh, I better do things that helps other people get to enlightenment. It's not like it's their goal and your goal. At some point, you might take on their New York Center. Or you might be given the opportunity to take on the New York Center. And when that comes, you only see it as a blessing. You only see it as there's nothing greater because you're going to enlightenment. Because you know they know. Now, do they know self-existently? Does everybody believe they know? No. Everyone has their own teacher. Everyone has their own projections. Everyone has their own enlightenment. But you need to find that one that fits you like a glove. You can't just get any coach. You need a specific coach. And you need to find that coach. And eventually, whatever that coach needs is what you need. And so then, after having faith and chosen them and studied them and with logic and reasoning, with the laws of karma, you begin to think of them in a specific way and continue developing your thinking, because the way you think about them is the way you're going to experience them. And then you act towards them in a specific way. And the more you act towards them, the more you're going to have to resist samsara, the thorns. Yeah. And at some point, I mean, I can't remember I can't remember the story, but it was some Mahasiddhi who had 4 students, and they're like so close and so tight, and it's like, I want you to go rob the town right now. And the 3 students went, yeah, yeah. And one student's like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Yeah, because it's their karma. And it's like pissed about it. It's like, fine, don't then. The others are like, yes, master, we'll go. They come back, and then he says, I only got 1 student. I only have 1 student. One student understands enough to put into practice what I'm teaching. It doesn't just follow. So it doesn't remove you or excuse you from taking responsibility. In fact, it gives you complete responsibility, as well as making you completely vulnerable of your own choice. It's a difficult thing to do, but if you want out, you need that kind of commitment. Sorry, but it's true. So then, what are we up to? And then it's your point, Anthony. Then after that, you develop kind of reverence for them, that just the thought of them just moves your mind to that place over and over and over and over. There is no, they are matchless. They are the Buddha. They are enlightened. And placing that in your mind will give you a result. Placing that in your mind over and over will give you a result. It's not religious practice for religious practice. Sorry. You translate the things you don't like about this from the Buddhist point of view, and you put it in your own language or your own thing. But the steps are the steps. You need to go through those 4 processes to actually have a being appear in your world and stay in your world. You're going to have to resist the urge to make them samsara, because you are projecting that too. And then you're going to have to level up your service over, help them. Now, if you get to the point of reverence and you really think about it, do they need you? If you've reached the point where do they need you? No, really, they don't. It's for your mind. It's for your result.
Wait, once you develop reverence for them, they don't need you, or the whole time?
No, they never needed you.
Yeah.
A teacher never needs you.
That's what I thought. Okay.
The actions you're doing towards them, actually, you're more annoying than. Seriously. Hey, Medisha Michael, how do I do this? I've only taught you 26 times. And that was just last week. Yes, but how do I meditate? But now I've got a real problem. What's your problem? Oh, it's the same as last week's problem.
But they want you. They don't need you.
They want you out.
Right.
They want you out urgently, because they want everyone else out. They want anyone that sees that they're in to be out.
Because they love you.
Yeah.
You could also debate that they do need you. If
You-
they have people,
Yeah. You could say, see, that's a nice debate, long debate. Does the Buddha need samsara? So, but let's not go there.
So would you say your karma is what's going to determine if and how quick you get a Rama?
Your karma determines absolutely everything. Sorry. Yeah. Including that, yes. But karma isn't some fuzzy wuzzy there. Karma is your actions of body, speech, and mind towards the world. Yeah, and then those mental imprints are labeling experiences that are lacking existence in the way you're experiencing them.
And since everything's coming from your side, could I view you as my Lama, but then could you view me as your Lama?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Isn't that
Right. So
Doesn't that type of exchange happen later in the path? There's like an interplay, or like when you're working in a karmic partnership, like a real.
Eventually, it would seem like everybody is your teacher.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also everybody's teacher.
You could have the karma to experience yourself being a teacher of other beings, and how do I say it? So imagine a being who's just seen emptiness and they can read everyone's thoughts just in that subsequent day. Yeah. And I've taken you as my Lama up to that point, but I've done the work. Yeah, because I've treated you as my Lama, even when you weren't appearing as a Lama. Yeah, but I've treated you that way. I've still planted the causes to overcome that samsara until the point I've developed enough concentration, enough virtue that I've been able to sit in meditation long enough to understand the ultimate object and seeing it. Come out of that, I have the capacity to read other people's minds, and I read my Lama's mind, and I see that they have not seen emptiness, for example, or that they are not enlightened. What would I recognize from that realization?
It was your own self-karma that got you realization, not them.
that they are a projection of some other part of me, which is a projection of an ultimate.
Which worked.
Yeah. I mean, so it's still my projection. I then have to go through the path of habituation to make him enlightened, whatever it takes. Yeah. So I'm going to go for another half an hour. You're not obliged to stay if you don't want to learn the path to enlightenment. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, let's see if I can do this in sync. I don't know if I can. I can. The source of all my good is a short text. I'm going to read the text and go through the slides that would relate to the specific steps from the text, because this text goes from the entire path to enlightenment. Yeah, and I'll show you the slide. You can take a picture, and then I'll put this up online. Yeah, I've divided the steps with this. You figure it out. So the first is the root source says, the source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to him in the proper way is the very root of the path, and grant me then to serve and follow him with all my strength and reverence. And in that paragraph, we've just covered those 4 steps on taking a Lama. Is that okay? Then the next step goes through the 3 scopes. The grand majority of the text goes through the 3 scopes, which you've learned before. Anyone not familiar with the 3 scopes? I'll give you a quick summary. The 3 scopes are practitioners of the lesser scope, of the medium scope, and of the greater scope, and it just means your capacity, motivation for actually going through the path. It doesn't mean you're lesser or worse. It just means you're just able to have this kind of motivation to practice this path. And the lowest is, I know I will die, and it might be worse than this after I die. And I don't want that. In Buddhist terms, it means you think you want to avoid the lower realms of rebirth. But already you're beyond the Western thinking. Yeah. Already being in the lower scope, it necessitates that you understand you will not stop when death comes. That your mind continues, and you'll see it on the text here how they describe it. So that's the lesser scope. I know it'll continue. I just don't want it to be worse than human. That's all I can master. That's practitioners, people that are doing the path to enlightenment with that small motivation. You're still going to do the steps to enlightenment. So if you can push your motivation a little higher, it would be, I want out for good. I don't care if it's lesser or if it's human or even if it's demigod. It's all shit. It's all suffering. It'll all end. Even the nice things turn to shit. I just don't want that, because that's also my projection. I want permanent cessation of all mental trouble. That's it. I want it done. I want out of samsara. Scope 2. That's all you can master. Scope 3 is, I'm going to do these steps. I'm going to follow the map. I'm going to hook onto this teacher, get me to enlightenment, which for me means I'm bringing everyone else with me. I'm going to do these steps, and it's not just for me. Everyone here deserves the same. It's like universal health care.
It's the ultimate.
It's the ultimate healthcare for all. Yep.
Single payer.
Single payer. Thank you.
Buddha care.
Buddha care. So that so we begin with the realization that we have this precious human life. So after you said, okay, I want to enlightenment, that motivation. The first step, the first lam rim, is a meditation on a teacher, finding a teacher, getting a teacher with those 4 steps. Contemplate them, come to a realization, sit on them. I mean, not on the teacher, but I mean, yeah. Then it's predicated by realizing you're lucky, lucky bastards. You have enough virtue right here, right now, and this is precious. It's not a coincidence. It's wearing out as you spend it unless you're creating more virtue. It's precious and it's going to go away. It's hard to find. So the text says, so this is how to take the essence of life, the part of the text that says, bless me first to realize that the excellent life of leisure and fortune I've found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. Grant me then to wish and never stop to wish that I could take its essence night and day. So saying this bloody thing I've got, as rotten as it is so precious. Don't waste it, because tick tock, it's finishing by itself. So don't waste it. And then you begin your motivation shared with the lesser scope, and it says, my body and the life in it are fleeting as the bubbles of the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I have died, the things that I've done, the white and the black, meaning the good and the bad karmas, and what these deeds will bring to me, follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. So it's like, first of all, realizing death is at the door, it's coming. And I'm going to show you the things in red are future slides. For this section, I'll show you the 3 steps of a death meditation and the cause and effect list of karma. Yeah? Then, is that it for lesser? Oh, there's still a bit more for lesser, sorry. Let me go back to lesser. We've got the death awareness meditation, the sufferings, page 4, page 5, still the lesser, high rebirth, lower rebirth, the loss of karma. Here it goes. And then the text says, grant me then ever to be careful to stop the slightest wrongs of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we make. So that's the steps on karma there. Then we go into the medium scope, people that can have a broader capacity. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. This is where you want to develop motivation to not just have a better rebirth, but to just get out of the whole cycle altogether. Yeah, with the seemingly good things of this life, I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. Code word for nirvana. It's the path to nirvana there. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to take the vows of morality, the essence of my practice. They are the root to the Buddhist teachings. And then that goes through the wish for nirvana, the path out of the 8 sufferings, which I'll cover, the causes of suffering, which is your mental afflictions, and how to get out instead of our, which is the 3 trainings. Then the text says, I have slipped and fallen. This is the greatest scope. I have slipped and fallen. So it's now not just thinking about me stopping suffering for me, but it's me wishing everyone else to stop as well. I've slipped and fallen into the sea of suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, everyone my own mother has fallen into. Grant me then the practice of the highest wish for enlightenment, to take on myself the task of freeing them all. And in this section, you will develop the wish, which has two parts. Thinking about it, which has two parts, right? How you think of the wish or get the wish, which is the 7-step cause and effect, or Tonglen from Kamalashila, from Shantideva, Kamalashila and Shantideva. Yeah, how to develop, how to think about it, and then it will say how to act, which is the 6 perfections. So bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough. That's not it yet. The 6 perfections, and then in this thing, it'll talk about, it'll return back to the last 2 of the 6 perfections, and we'll talk about shamatha and vipassana, and then entering the secret way. And that's why it's in this book, yeah, because it's the first hint of entering the secret way. I have slipped and fallen, we did that. Bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough. For if I'm not well trained in the 3 moralities, I cannot become a Buddha. Grant me then a fierce resolve to master the vows of the children of the victors. And here, it'll return back to the point that we're studying here, meditation. All this stuff is stuff we can meditate on, these lists I just gave you, yeah, and the ones where you can look at them individually and say, how do they relate to me? Death meditation, for example. Go through the steps, get the realization you're on that part of the path and on that part of the path. Develop the wish to free other people. You're on that part of the path and that part. And so each one of these are meditations on their own, and then the entirety becomes a meditation. And at the end, just a couple of more paragraphs. Grant that I may quickly gain the path where quietude and insight, shamatha and vipassana, come together. One which quiets the mind from being distracted to wrong objects, the other which analyzes perfectly the correct way, that of intimacy. Grant that once I've practiced well, the path that is shared, okay, yeah, so it's talking about there now, the path that is shared, meaning the open path or the sutra path, and become a vessel that is worthy, I enter with perfect ease the way of the diamond. This is Tantra, the secret way. The highest of all ways, the holiest door to come inside for the fortunate seeking the fortunate and the good. Bless me to know with genuine certainty that when I've entered thus, the course that gives me both the attainments is keeping my pledges and vows most pure. Grant me then to always keep them, even if it costs me my life. Bless me next to realize precisely the crucial points of both the stages of the essence of the secret way. Grant me then to practice as the holy ones have spoken, putting all my effort and never leaving off the practice of the 4 times highest that there is. Last 2 things. Bless me, grant me then, and this is where you're just asking for the right conditions for more of this to develop and asking for those realizations to always stay. For blessings, in essence. Bless me and grant me that the spiritual guide that shows me this good road and all my true companions on this quest live long and fruitful lives. Bless and grant me that the rain of obstacles, the things outside of me and inside of me that could stop me, stop now and end forever. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect Lama. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every good quality of every level and path and reach then quickly the place where I myself become the keeper of the diamond. That last line sounds so Buddhisty, I just want to say it again. Okay. No, seriously, because it could sound like that, but you have to do that other half that says it's not that. It says, in all my lives, meaning for the rest of your mind's existence, may I never live apart from experiencing a teacher that reminds me of these things, ever. So may I never be parted from them, yeah? May I bask in the glory of the Dharma, meaning may I be able to place my mind on the truest understanding of whatever hologram I'm projecting and think is real. May I be reminded constantly that Dharma, the way things are, is not the way they appear. May I never be removed from that. And may I fulfill perfectly. May I be able to have the capacity to move through every level and path, the 5 paths, the 3 paths, the blah, blah, blah path. May I be able to maneuver myself through this map with certainty until I myself become the keeper of the diamond, Vajradhara, the one, the ultimate primordial being who is emptiness realizer, the holder of all things. Yeah, meaning you are in a state constantly. You're in a state of enlightenment, but one that sees it beyond all things. So here's the lists. You have to ask yourself: is it true that life is suffering? In that, he says, the text said, you know, may I see that all this stuff that the seemingly good things of this life, may I realize that they're not that good. And here you have to use this logic to say, is it true that life is suffering, right? And so you have the trainings of the 3 sufferings, you have the 8 sufferings, or a list of sufferings. I'll upload the list, yeah? But the bottom line here is the analogy of the honey on the razor blade. A pleasure that is necessarily always followed by a pain can't be a pleasure. Okay, so even the nicest things you have in this life, if they must necessarily end and you feel a kind of detachment and hurt and pain, it ain't nice. Now, do you have the capacity for nice? Yeah, but it ended. So the fact that you have the capacity means you could, if you found out what produced it and what stopped it, remove what stopped it and just have it. That's not suffering. That's outside the cycle. The cycle that goes, it's coming, it's going, it's good, it's bad. That ain't good, even though it might appear good when you're on the up cycle. Yeah. So you have to come to that, and that would get you in one of the steps of the Lamrim. Then the 8, you can put sub 3 in each one of these, which is think about death constantly. It's coming. It's certain. You don't know when. And at the end, there is nothing that your family can do to help you on that deathbed. There is nothing your doctor or medicine or science can do at that moment. There's absolutely nothing that your body is able to do at that moment. The only thing that you have is the stuff in your mind, how your mind is projecting that reality, the Dharma in your mind. The Dharma meaning the thought at the moment where it's gone. This thing is breaking. That's it. It's finished. Not a hand can touch you. Not a doctor can whisper. Not anything can happen. The only thing that you've got left is the stuff you've habituated through this life that you'll be able to pierce out through your senses. The last one that goes is your hearing. And through this puppet, you'll get to conceive of a reality. Whatever you've put in there will produce that reality. That's the only thing that helps you. Can you logically go through those steps and get yourself through a healthy death meditation that should wake you up, energize you, remind you how precious this human life is, and you want to take its essence? The other analytical meditation, or the other steps of the path that we covered here, is the 4 laws of karma. Are you certain on cause and effect? Is it true that like produces like, that whatever planted grows and becomes bigger? That the impressions in your mind, the ultimate seeds, will produce a bigger result than the cause? Can you be certain that if you're experiencing a result, it's because it had a cause? And if you ain't experiencing it, nobody had a cause for it. Damn, there's no potatoes today. Did you plant potatoes? No potatoes. Duh, I wanted potatoes. You didn't plant potatoes. You can't complain if you didn't create it. You can't be surprised. Yeah, or if whatever, I've got tomatoes and you hate tomatoes, then don't plant tomatoes. Can you go through that? I'm going. 3, 2, 1. These are all subparts of the text I just read. Is that fair? Can you see the connections? It was the things I highlighted red. Are you terminado? Then the 3 trainings. There might be a question 10 maybe, that will ask you, why is the 3 extraordinary trainings, the 3 baskets, the Tripitaka, the one on morality, the one on concentrated effort, and the one on wisdom, right? 3 big trainings. You can group the Buddha's teaching into these 3 things.
I just noticed the image.
Oh,
I just
sorry.
think it's funny.
The 3 trainings. But morality, why is it the basis of the other 2 trainings? Why is morality the first of the 3 baskets?
It gives rise to the others.
It gives rise to the others. And that's why he said it at least 2 times, make the vows the essence of my practice. Because without ethics, without treating the world the way I want to be treated, nothing's going to result the way I want it to result. That's why ethics is connected, because things don't have a nature. The nature is forced upon you based on what you've done to others in the past. You did crappy, you were angry, you were jealous, you're getting that. Sorry. You're compassionate, you're getting that. Good on you. You're studious, you're getting that. You're investigative, you're getting that. And all the flavors that you put in every action. So without morality, your mind isn't settled enough to be able to concentrate. And you need concentration in order to have shamatha and vipassana, which is the last thing, which is what he revisits at the text, right? So I'm going to just put the definitions here. We can talk about it next week. But in essence, it's why they seem so similar. Why do they have different words? Why shamatha? Why vipassana? Why is one insight and the other one is single pointedness or focus? Yeah, but why are they so similar? They're essentially the same thing once you place them on the ultimate object. Yeah, the ultimate object is emptiness. You just say emptiness in this class and you'll pass. They have perfect clarity, fixation, and intensity. And last but not least, and without sound, you get to see that chart come to life, which you'll understand if you do a sound to this, but I can't make the sound work and I don't know why. Have you seen this? Who's not seen this? Put up your hand if you've not seen this. Okay. Imagine that there is sound.
The sound is going out through the edge.
Yeah, but it's not.
Where's the remote?
Going out into
The remote.
Cable. You got the cable plugged in there.
Oh, I see. That's what it is.
If you put the volume up on the thing, it'll go on.
No, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. But in essence, it's a monk about to go through the 9 stages of meditation, which might be too boring if I don't find the volume. Now it's not so boring. Your mind is gone. You're chasing after it. But eventually you get
What
to do
does the
something.
white represent?
The white is you getting rid of agitation and dullness. You're making your mind serviceable. Your mind is dirty mind versus a clean mind. How's that?
Huh?
And there's significance between the monkey and the hare, and the 2 objects are different. At some point, you get down to get rid of subtle dullness. I think it's where it's at now. You get to say, oh,
We can't be friends anymore.
sorry, agitation, you're done.
And then he doesn't have to hold him anymore.
Yeah. So the elephant is your mind. Who the hell's a monk? Who's the monk then? Nice. And now you get to the cave where you've finished the 9th stage, which is you've reached shamatha with vipassana, and then you have complete and utter rainbow experiences. The last thing I wanted to do is tell you that we've covered a ton of information that was covered in 10 courses, yeah? In 10 classes. This course has 5 10 class courses. 50 classes at least are in the stuff we're studying at the moment. So you're only getting a summarized view, which lets you place it together. The onus is on you to go deeper for each one of these. What holds true for this class is that if you're going, you asked me 2 weeks ago, I think, what should I meditate on to get Vipassana? Or last week, actually, you did, right? What should I meditate on? And I've just told you. Yeah, you should meditate on each of the steps to enlightenment, grab the text download, or read this book, and go to ACI 2 and pull down the reading, and you will meditate on each of these lists. Each one of them is an effect for the other one. You can't meditate on something and get a result if you haven't done the training on morality, if you haven't been living or serving your teacher. Yeah, you can't get the results if you haven't put the course. So it's not like everybody that meditates on this will get that. Sorry. You need, and I don't know where you're at, and I don't know where you're at, and you don't know where I'm at. But you each, the bottom line for this class is you each have to do the first step of the Lamrim. You now have the map. You got to put that map over yourself. Oh, it's saying to these things. I don't have that at all. I've got too much. I had too much pride to see him as a teacher, and at some point I got so sick of my pride that was bumping me over that I prostrated, and it was transformative because I nearly vomited. It was my pride that was stopping me. Maybe you don't have pride. Maybe you have something else. You need some teacher that has that something else, has overcome it, and can help you overcome it. We all have our perfect teacher somewhere because it comes from you. And on that note, let's do a dedication, and thank you, yeah, for letting me rant till 10 o'clock.
Sashi
Rukia Jushin Metotram Riravinchi Yindayam Pati Sangye Shindu Mitevargi Drobun Namda Shimla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratnamandalatam Niryatayami
Gewa
Igokun Sunam Yashe Soksokshin Sunam Yashe Junwe Dhampa Kuni Toparsho. May your future selves as Buddhas see the steps you specifically need to reach them, and may you encounter the teacher that gets you there urgently. Thank you. It's finished.